sat quietly for a moment before speaking, her voice carrying both warmth and weight. The setting was intimate, a conversation on Michelle Obama and Craig Robinson's IMO podcast, where stories are shared not just to inform, but to connect. What began as a joyful reflection soon unfolded into something deeper, an emotional narrative about family, love, and the strange way life intertwines happiness with grief. She began by sharing a milestone that had recently changed her life forever. She and her husband had become grandparents. Their eldest daughter, Annie, and her husband had welcomed a baby boy into the world. It was a moment filled with overwhelming joy, the kind that redefines a person's sense of time and purpose. For Jamie Lee Curtis, the arrival of her grandson wasn't just another chapter, it was the beginning of a new legacy, a continuation of love through generations. Her face lit up as she spoke about the baby, recalling the emotions that come with holding a newborn for the first time. There was laughter in her voice, a softness that reflected the pride and amazement she felt. Becoming a grandmother was something she embraced fully, a role she seemed ready for in every way. It was, by all accounts, a beautiful moment for the family. But as she continued, the tone shifted. The joy of that December birth was shadowed by an unimaginable loss. Just a week before her grandson arrived, tragedy struck, one that would forever mark that time in her life. Rob Reiner and Michelle Reiner, people who held a deeply meaningful place in her family, had passed away. Their deaths were not only shocking, but profoundly personal. Jamie paused as she spoke their names, the emotion clearly visible. Rob and Michelle weren't just acquaintances or distant friends, they were family in every sense that matters. They had been chosen as the godparents of Annie, a role that symbolized trust, love, and lifelong connection. That bond went beyond ceremony. It was built on years of shared memories, support, and affection. And then came the detail that made the moment even more heartbreaking. They died on Annie's birthday. It was a coincidence so painful it almost felt unreal. A day meant for celebration had become forever tied to loss. Jamie described the feeling as something impossible to fully articulate, a collision of joy and sorrow that left the family trying to process both at once. She spoke about how life doesn't pause for grief, nor does it delay happiness. The birth of her grandson came just days after the loss, forcing the family to navigate two extreme emotions simultaneously. There was no clear way to separate them, no neat boundary between mourning and celebration. It was a week after Rob and Michelle, and they are her godparents, and they died on her birthday. The room seemed to hold still as she shared that truth. The story wasn't just about what happened, it was about what it felt like, about how the human heart stretches to hold both grief and joy, even when it feels impossible. Jamie spoke candidly about the complexity of those days, how the family leaned on each other while trying to honor both the new life that had arrived and the lives that had been lost. There was also the added weight of the circumstances surrounding Rob and Michelle's deaths. Their son, Nick Reiner, had been arrested in connection with their murders and was awaiting trial. It was a detail that made the situation even more tragic and difficult to comprehend. The idea that such violence could exist within a family added another layer of sorrow and disbelief. Jamie didn't dwell on the details of the case, but the gravity of it was clear. This wasn't just a loss, it was a traumatic event that left lasting questions and pain. It was something that no family is ever prepared for, something that reshapes the way you see the world. Yet, even in the midst of that darkness, she found a way to speak about light. She returned to the image of her grandson, a symbol of hope and continuity. In many ways, his arrival became a reminder that life moves forward, even when it feels like it shouldn't, that new beginnings can emerge from the most difficult endings. Jamie reflected on how becoming a grandmother shifted her perspective. It made her think about legacy, not just in terms of career or accomplishments, but in the relationships we build and the love we leave behind. Rob and Michelle had been part of that legacy, their presence woven into the fabric of her family's story. She spoke about them with affection, remembering their kindness, their humor, and the role they played in Annie's life. They weren't defined by the way they died, but by the way they lived and the love they gave. As the conversation continued, it became clear that this wasn't just a story about loss. It was about resilience, about the ability to hold on to joy even when grief feels overwhelming, about the importance of family, chosen and otherwise, and helping us navigate life's most difficult moments. Michelle Obama and Craig Robinson listened with empathy, allowing Jamie the space to share without interruption. The podcast, known for its thoughtful and honest discussions, became the perfect setting for such a deeply personal story. Jamie's willingness to open up was powerful. She didn't try to simplify her emotions or present a neatly packaged narrative. Instead, she embraced the complexity of it all, the contradictions, the pain, the beauty. She acknowledged that there aren't easy answers when it comes to experiences like this, no clear way to make sense of them. But she also emphasized the importance of connection, of talking about these moments, of sharing them with others. Because in sharing, there is healing. She described how her family has been coping, how they found ways to honor Rob and Michelle while also celebrating the new life in their midst. It's not about choosing one emotion over the other, but about allowing both to exist. There's joy, and there's heartbreak, and sometimes they're right next to each other. That idea lingered. It's something many people can relate to, even if the circumstances are different. Life rarely unfolds in a straight line. It's messy, unpredictable, and often overwhelming. But within that chaos, there are moments of clarity, moments that remind us what truly matters. For Jamie Lee Curtis, this was one of those moments. Becoming a grandmother in the same breath as saying goodbye to dear friends forced her to confront the full spectrum of human emotion. It challenged her, but it also deepened her understanding of love and loss. As the conversation came to a close, there was a quiet reflection. Jamie had shared something deeply personal, something that went beyond headlines or sound bites. It was a reminder that behind every public figure is a private life filled with the same complexities we all face. She left listeners with a sense of perspective, a reminder to cherish the people we love, to hold on to moments of joy, and to acknowledge the pain when it comes. Because both are part of the same story, and sometimes they arrive at the same time.